Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one on Irving, puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James, second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland, this is for you.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday morning for our final installment of the year, Kev, of Coffee and the Cavs.
Oh, yeah. Thank goodness.
Yes, absolutely. We will be back to our regular live shows on Thursday after the Spurs game because the Cavs will be back home for that. But welcome to the Block the Shot to Stop. I'm Tim Daniel. He's Kevin Lynch. And we, of course, are a Cleveland Cavaliers podcast brought to you by the wonderful people at Blue Wire Pods. If you're checking us out for the first time, we are a post-game show where we normally go live after every game, barring the West Coast, because if you know our motto, you know we are, in fact, Dad's Talking Cavs. Today's show is a fun one. We're talking about the second win in a row to end the West Coast road trip against the Blazers. We're going to discuss Darius Garland and Evan Mobley's big games in the starting lineup, as well as Sam Merrill filling in for Donovan Mitchell. We're going to have a huge conversation on Ty Jerome, and of course, we will get you ready for the matchup on Thursday night against the San Antonio Spurs or whatever's left of them. But Kevin, I will start at the top. After a frustrating losing streak, the Cavaliers have won 2 in a row after the game against Utah on Sunday, where, let's be honest, I mean, they ran away with it. I thought this matchup against Portland last night was a really good one. So we were lucky enough to be in the arena the first Blazers game. And this resembled that game a little bit as far as just like really consistent. Cleveland couldn't pull away from them, had to keep their foot on the gas. They're a really pesky team. They're really fun to watch as far as just a basketball fan. Not fun to play against when your team plays in because you're like, just beat these guys. But they're a team that just sticks around. Benny Avdia has been such a great piece for them for 2 years now. Scoot Henderson really kind of coming into his own. But I thought this was a great win for Cleveland in the sense that it was a game that they had to keep going. They could not take a step back and obviously got a double-digit win, but it was much closer than a double-digit game.
It was. This Portland team is, don't look at the overall number because they were pretty bad to start the year. And then in the last like 2+ months, they're 18-13. That's like a 58. Yeah. That's a 58% win percentage. To give you an idea, the Warriors this year have a 57% win percentage. You know, the Milwaukee Bucks have a 56% win percentage. So they have been kind of like, they've been playing as if they're about a 5 seed for the last 2 months. Right. So give them credit. As you said, they're a young team that seems to be taking kind of the first step towards, being good. I really enjoy seeing them play. I think they might be like the most athletic team in the league. Like,
oh my God. Yes, absolutely.
They are so, and they're also the tallest starting lineup. They said on the broadcast last night, their average starter is like 6'7", which can pose some problems for the Cavs. But so this is a win Cavs fans should feel good about. Sure. Not feeling great about the Utah win when Utah's intentionally trying to win games. I buy that. It's fine. It was nice to get a win and get off the losing streak. This is a game you feel good about. It's the first time the Cavs have played good in probably 6 or 7 games, however long the Grizzlies game was ago. So I thought for the most part, with a couple exceptions, the Cavs played a very good game last night.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's kind of go through and we'll kind of talk about some individual guys. And I want to start, as we know, I always want to start with Evan Mobley, but I feel like it's important to start this game with Evan Mobley. A 21-12 double-double last night. But what I really want to talk about is just the aggressiveness that the Cavs got from him last night. I thought he was extremely physical. He didn't have his most efficient game by any means. Made of 15 is not bad. No one's going to, but like, I thought he was super physical. He got to the line, had 7 free throws, had 11 defensive rebounds, did have 3 fouls, but I think that has to go with the aggressiveness we're talking about here. But I thought really, going against Donovan Clingan, who was game, who really was physical with him, and Toumani Camara, who's also a really good defender, was just named Defensive Player of the Month for the Western Conference. I thought Mobley did really well, and I really liked just seeing him kind of try to win that game and kind of take the steps he needed to take.
Yeah, I actually put on our Blue Sky account at halftime, like not Evan Mobley's most efficient quarter, but that or efficient half, but that's the way I want to see him play. You felt his presence, even when his stats weren't great. Like at halftime, he was about 12 and 5, 11 and 5, something like that, which is a fine half, but like it felt much more impactful because he was grabbing loose balls. You didn't mention he had 4 blocks, and it felt like it could have been more.
Right.
He was really controlling the paint for a good portion of that. He was just kind of just making his presence felt in all areas of the game. That's what great players do. Great players don't have great shooting nights every night, but they always find a way to impact the game. And with Evan's athleticism and size and defensive ability, he 100% has the ability to impact every single game he's in, even if he's not scoring well.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I thought what we saw from him last night was great. And I thought to close the game, I mean, he had that play where he kind of loses the dribble, but still gets past, I think it was Kamara in the paint, picks up the ball on the ground and dunks it. We talked a lot last week after the Kings game, how frustrated we were with the lack of 50-50 balls. That's a 50-50 ball you like, where, yeah, Portland has a chance to get that turnover, but he hustles, grabs the ball off the ground, and immediately puts in a 2-hand slam. So I thought that is what the Cavs really need down the stretch. We're kind of at this point now, we have 10 games left, and they're really kind of just needing to kind of close out the season on a high note. They're still in good shape to take the 1 overall seed, even better shape now after last night, obviously. But if you get games like that from Evan Mobley, I think that 1 seed is going to be clinched sooner than later for the end of the regular season.
Absolutely. It's hard to continue to say kind of the same things about Evan in a different way, but like the biggest thing, the Cavs, I honestly think for as great as they do so many things, as many great players they have, the Cavs are going to go as far as Evan Mobley takes them.
Correct.
Because I think like, and I've noticed, especially during the losing streak, I'm wanting more out of him now. Like we were talking about his ascent this year. He's ascended. He's right. I mean, he still has more ascension to go to be, one of the best players in the league, but like he has taken a giant step this year. Now I want to see him, kind of force all of these new skills on the game and on the other team. I want him to do like more playmaking. I get really frustrated when he just stays in the post or he just stays behind the 3-point line and he doesn't, do some of the things he was doing last night, taking guys off the dribble, getting the ball in the high post. So Evan, like honestly, the one thing I want to see it from him this year that he hasn't consistently displayed is demanding the ball a little bit. I don't want him to, I don't want him to do it all the time, but when you become a great player, the moments to like, I need the ball to make a play right now. And I think Evan's still a little bit passive and a little bit too much team first at times offensively.
Sure.
So I don't mean that as a huge criticism, but that is why I was so encouraged about last night. That's the kind of game I want him to play in the playoffs.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. I know we want to get to a little bit of Sam Merrill conversation as we move forward, but I just want to quickly mention, shout out Donovan Mitchell, just not having any business whatsoever playing the Trailblazers. Just like, you know what? Both games against him this year, I don't need to play those guys. So kudos to Donovan Mitchell for picking his spots. I like
it. Yeah, I mean, frankly, they are the type of team that will give him trouble with like really big athletic guards and wings and everything. I don't know that it was intentional that it kind of worked out this way, but I don't think it was. I don't think it would have been the greatest matchup for Donovan. Put it that way.
Yeah, I'm with you. So Sam Merrill last night once again stepping in, really efficient night. 4 of 6 from 3, 14 points, 3 assists. Played really good defense. I thought his defense was really good last night. I mean, he's guarding at times Shaedon Sharpe, he's guarding Anthony Simons at times, and like he's guarding Denny Avdia. Like he was moving around, man. Like there's really physical dudes that he had to like kind of go up against. He was really, really battling for loose balls. He was really physical, which you had to be against this Portland team. But you kind of just mentioned with Evan, just kind of like making your presence felt. I feel like this stretch, even with the losing streak that we've seen from Sam Merrill, really since he's been consistently playing from his little like knick-knack injuries, you're really seeing his presence felt on a nightly basis. And that's exactly what you want from your rotational guys as you're kind of going down the end of the stretch going into the postseason.
Yeah, we highlighted it on the winning streak during that 16 game winning streak. Sam Merrill is shooting over 50% from three. Like a lot of the team had a couple bad games during the 4-game slide, and then had another phenomenal shooting game last night. 5 of 7 overall, 4 of 6 from three. If Sam Merrill can hit threes at an above average clip, and I think he's a much more than above average shooter. He is a playoff rotation playable player. He does enough other things well and good enough. Like you said, underrated defender, never going to be the greatest defender in the world because of his size and, not being quite as athletic as some other guys, but really digs in defensively, always makes a lot of kind of some of just the non-stat sheet plays, the loose ball plays, the draw. He leads the team in charges drawn by a mile. And so he's, I just think Sam is a winning player. And I do think it's especially in the playoffs, he has to shoot to stay in the rotation when they cut the rotation to 8, maybe 9. But if he's shooting anywhere like he has the last couple of months, he's going to stay in the rotation and still get 15, 20 minutes a game in the playoffs.
Yeah, I completely. I have a hard time seeing him that kind of have a dip out too. I think that's what's really great about this Cavs team is I don't think they're necessarily competitive with each other in the sense that they are don't like each other, obviously, by any means, but everyone's fighting to prove that they need to be in the playoff rotation because the benches get shorter at that time, obviously. But hard cuts right now, man. I mean, if they have to go down to 7 or 8, realistically, Dean Wade's defense, it feels like it's irreplaceable for this team. Sam Merrill's just all around finding ways to help your team, like you said, being a winning player. Obviously, we know Hunter and Jerome aren't going anywhere. Javonte Green is likely out. Obviously, I know he played about 7 minutes last night. But realistically, I mean, Okoro, Wade, Merrill, Jerome, Hunter, Strus, anyone other than the core 4, they're all fighting to show hey, you need to play me to win series.
Completely agree. And since he's the last person you said, one guy I wanted to highlight, and we're going to get to, there's a lot of great individual performances last night that led to a really good performance by the team. I thought that was Isaac Okora's best game in a long time. I thought don't even look at the stat sheet. That was much more an eye test than a stat sheet after the game by him. But my goodness, did he lock down defensively? And he created, and I know there's an advanced stat for this, but I don't have it in front of me. But it's turnovers created, basically. It was incredible last night. The defensive clamps he put down. He made so many. I think he had several. I'll pull up the stats, but he had at least a couple of offensive rebounds where he came in, got the offensive rebound, and immediately dished it to Jared Allen for a elaborate dunk. He made just a lot of loose ball plays. He was really good. He had a couple hockey assists where he cut to the basket and got the ball moving, and then they ended up getting a wide open 3. I thought he was so active on both ends of the floor. That's the Isaac that we've been waiting for that will play a key role in certain times in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's always good to see that from him. Let's get to Darius Garland because he had the best game statistically, and also he's the one that put the game away. He was so freaking good down the stretch. And I know Kenny's fought for him to be the clutch player of the year, which is a dumb award. I think we all agree. But if he's on your team, you want him to get that accolade. With the Jalen Brunson injury is making a case to potentially be on one of those all NBA teams. It's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle there, but I thought last night we saw Darius Garland again. And what I mean by that is not just so we've seen him do a bunch of stuff already as far as being the excellent playmaker and he's been an all-star this year, but he struggled for quite a bit. Like I said, not just during the losing streak, but even a couple games before then. And last night, I mean, the rarity of only took 3 threes and still made his presence felt. 27 points. 8 assists, with Mitchell out, was kind of being that additional rebounder to crash the glass or track down a long rebound. his best game in a long time, and really kind of, like I said, put the daggers in at the end to put it away. And that's the most fun Darius Garland is like, all right, we need to win this game. Let's get ready for San Antonio on Thursday. I got this, guys. And he had it.
He was good the whole game and phenomenal in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
He made just about every play. He scored a lot in the fourth quarter. When he wasn't scoring, he was playmaking and initiating the offense. And I was a little bit worried, and this is a guy we're going to talk about in a minute, but like when they took Ty Jerome out with about 7-8 minutes left, I'm like, man, Ty has been a lot of our offense tonight. I don't know if we can leave him on the bench for the stretch run. And that was right the time. And Darius was the one who came in for him, and Darius just took over the game the last 8 minutes of the fourth quarter and was phenomenal. And you're right. And you could just honestly, Darius is a body language guy. Like if you watch his body language, you can, without even looking at the stats, you can probably know how good a game he's having.
Yes, that's a great point.
And last night you could tell it. He was feeling it. He was confident. He was smiling. Like usually the more he smiles, the better game he's having. Yes, I thought Darius was good throughout the game, but that last 8 minutes of the game, he completely controlled the game down the stretch.
I feel like it's important to mention because we've talked all season about how much Evan Mobley has matured and taken this next step and become this, potential all-NBA player and the defensive player of the year. We've obviously talked about how great Garland's been. We've talked about how great it's been as a bounce back year for all the struggles he had the last season. He also has had such a maturation as far as like being the guy to take over games and kind of the things you said you want to see from Evan Mobley. The Cavs are getting a lot of that from Darius Garland.
Particularly offensively. I talk about Evan because Evan can do it in every facet of the game.
Right.
Darius is an amazing player, but he, just doesn't have the ability that Evan does to take over the game defensively and on the boards and everything. But the ability Darius can break down any player in the league, and that him being able to combine that skill with his 3-point shooting this year, which he's having a career year of 3-point shooting, and obviously the health. This is the healthiest he's been in quite a while. Has allowed him to be kind of like you said, one of the best clutch players in the league, even if he's not on the board gambling wise for clutch player of the year.
But he should be. He absolutely should.
Yeah.
If it's an award, he should be in the conversation. But we're not going to get into it. We have a short show today. I'll tell you what, man. You came up with some Ty Jerome stuff. I feel like I would be doing you a disservice if I did not let you lead the Ty Jerome segment today.
It is a crime that Ty Jerome is getting longer odds for sixth man of the year. A crime. Yes. I want somebody to be arrested for this because if there's one thing he's being penalized for, it's that he doesn't play as much as some other guys who are sixth man of the year. That's literally the only difference. If you look at, not per game, but like per minute stats, everything, he is not only the best sixth man in the league, but could argue one of the more impactful players in the league for the amount of time he's on the court. He now, after last night, has a PER of 20.7. Do you know who leads the Cavs in PER?
Evan Mobley?
It's Ty Jerome. Like that's who. And to give you in context in the league, the guy, he is directly behind Steph Curry in PER and directly in front of Donovan Mitchell at 20.7. Like that's how for 18th in the league, he is having an incredible season that if there's any knock on him, it's that he plays less than 20 minutes a game. It's 19.7. That's the only reason. He's a few made free throws away from being a 50, 40, 90 guy, which is like the benchmark of having an amazing offensive season, a historical offensive season.
Yeah.
There's guys, I think Kevin Durant's never been 50, 40, 90. I think he's gotten close, but he's never actually done it. So the fact that he's actually slipping, he's now like tied for fifth in sixth man of the year odds with Russell Westbrook. DeAndre Hunter, as much as I love him, is third. DeAndre Hunter, both in Atlanta and here, has not had the type of impact that Ty Jerome has, nor has Malik Beasley, nor has Peyton Pritchard. If you look at Peyton Pritchard and I hate when you hype up one guy, it feels like you have to bash the other. So I don't mean to do that at all. But if you compare the two, the only two things Peyton Pritchard does more than Ty Jerome is he plays more and he shoots more threes. Every stat he has is a reflective of those two things in where he's above Ty Jerome. If you want to look at like efficiency, things like PER, points per minute on the floor, all of those things, Ty is far and away the best guy coming off the bench this season. And that's even before we get into last night. Last night was just a masterful performance by him. 9 of 15 from the floor, 4 of 5 from 3, 3 of 3 from the line, 25 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds, and absolutely controlled the game offensively, particularly in the second quarter. But whenever Darius Garland wasn't in the game and they needed his playmaking like they have whenever Mitchell or Garland's out. And I say all of this, and that's my rant. I'm going to end my rant on Ty Jerome. I'm going to let you chime in, but I'm going to give you a question, a crazy question, Tim, that I want your answer.
Oh boy.
To.
I'm excited about this.
Do you think there could be times in the playoffs where it would be better for Ty Jerome to play in place of Garland or Mitchell?
Yes. Particularly that Orlando's matchup, because Orlando's physicality, even without Suggs, let's say it's Orlando in the first round. I don't know. It's looking more and more like it's going to be Chicago, isn't it? Like it's looking more and more like it's going to be the Bulls in round 1. And I laugh about it, but it's true. I do think there are going to be matchups where you can probably rely on him a little more. And it's not a knock on Mitchell or Garland by any means, but it's pretty rare you see a 2 for 18 game from Ty Jerome. It's rare you see it from Mitchell too. But this is not to say we dislike Donovan Mitchell at all. Not by any means. But yeah, there's going to be times where you're going to need his sturdiness. You're going to need his ability to hold onto the ball and not turn the ball over. There's going to be times where you're going to need him to kind of just like slow everything down. And, because like obviously with Garland and Mitchell and the Cavs in general, they are a run up and go down the court team, and Garland and Jerome can do that too. But I think he's the best of the three that we're talking about at just kind of changing the pace and knowing when to run a patient offense. I mean, that's Tony Bennett written all over him, right? That is Virginia Cavalier basketball. So, I certainly think you have a great point. I certainly think there are times when you're going to need him just as much or even a little more than the other two.
I mean, numbers don't lie, especially when you're 72 games into the season. He's actually been more efficient than Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell. I'm not saying he's the player that they are, but like as good as he's been offensively, as consistent as he's been, coupled with the fact that he has better size and is a little bit better defender than either of them, I don't know if those three shouldn't get closer to equal minutes in the playoffs, or Jerome should take 5 minutes from each Garland and Mitchell. He's just been that good this year. It's a wild thing to say. I mean, we were on our preview podcast. I went and listened to us talking about Ty Jerome, and we got in a debate if he was going to play at all this year, or if he was just going to be like a 12th man on the bench that was a Victor Cigar type player. And now he's gone from that to should be the front runner for 6th man of the year. And it's a legitimate conversation if he should take minutes from Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. It's wild how the impact that he has made this year.
I'm going to further that one real thing before we get into San Antonio, because I know we're running short on time. Mm-hmm. Are there going to be situations where it makes sense for all three guys are on the floor in the playoffs?
Potentially, when they can survive defensively with those three. So no way you could do it against Boston.
Right.
But potentially against pretty much any other team. I mean, if they happen to play Atlanta, it doesn't look like they will, but Atlanta has, some size that would be an issue with that lineup. It would put playmaking all over the floor, especially so you assume either Mobley or Allen, and then like a Hunter or Wade or something, or two of those four are in with those three. So if they could survive defensively, that would be, I think those three. So I think their best playmaking lineup, potentially best offensive lineup, would be Garland, Mitchell, Jerome, Hunter, and Mobley. I think that might be their best offensive lineup as far as just like you get offense from everywhere and from everywhere, everyone. So it's all about if they can hang defensively. Ty can play up and play guys a little bit bigger than him. It's not his best,
Right.
best part of his game. But yeah, if they can survive defensively, it would be an incredible wrinkle to do offensively for stretches during games.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's close out here with San Antonio. It's the first matchup somehow with 9 games left after this one. They play the Spurs. I don't know how the scheduling worked out that way. But for those who don't know, the Spurs have basically 90% of their offense on the injured list for the year. De'Aaron Fox is out for the season. Victor Wembanyama is obviously out for the season. Right now, realistically, you can make the case their best player is Devin Vassell, which Devin Vassell is very good. So I'm not saying like it's a knock on him. But they're getting minutes right now, Kevin, like big minutes from Sandro Mamulakashvili. I'm going to have to say that 4 times to get it right. Stephon Castle is probably the rookie of the year. I think is the best case. I think he's been really good. And it's a good Spurs team that just got bit by the injury bug and really has some steps to take forward before they are back to the San Antonio Spurs we know.
Yeah, they're definitely a team. They were a team to watch this year and definitely a team to watch last year. They're just frankly, they're playing out the string this year, particularly with Wembanyama hurt, and then they trade for De'Aaron Fox, and now De'Aaron Fox is out. They have several good role players playing right now, but like really, they're also doing kind of, and they also can't, the guys they have together, they can't fit them together to make an effective lineup, if that makes sense. They have too many of the kind of the similar kind of guys. And then, I mean, they're starting Bismack Biyombo in 2025 at center, who I love. Great guy, great story, but was out of the league for long stretches not that long ago. They're starting and still playing over 20 minutes a game Chris Paul in 2025. And, while Chris Paul's a good name, I challenge you to look at his stats for this year and convince me he should be starting on an NBA team at this point in his career. So yeah, you would think a very nice matchup for the Cavs between the Spurs, between getting to come back home after 2 weeks on the road. And you definitely feel good about this game. And this, this game, if they can get, win 3 the next 4, something like that, I think you're going to be at the point where the number 1 seed's put away, and then you'll have several games to kind of rest guys and try new things for the playoffs. So hopefully this is the next step. Get this win, get your magic number down to, could it be as low as 3 after this game? Is that right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so hopefully, we don't have anybody having on San Antonio come in, decide to have a crazy shooting night or anything, but I think this is a very advantageous matchup for the Cavs.
I'm going to try it again because I looked it up on Basketball Reference. Mamukashvili. I don't think I still got it right, but I at least had the cheat sheet. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like these young guys and these guys who are probably playing way more than they should just because of the lack of players they have available. And that includes their head coach, obviously Greg Popovich, which I would, I hope to see that he does get another year of coaching next season. We talked about like all these Cooper Flag teams. What if they won the lottery? Wouldn't that be incredible for next year?
It's wild. I mean, that's the one advantage to them, kind of struggling with injuries and play down the stretch of this year is they're going to end up with one more high draft pick that you can slot in with when they're healthy, whether it's Flag or anything. This is a loaded draft. We'll get into draft stuff after the season, but even if it's not Flag, the top 5 or 6 in this draft is as good as any draft in recent memory. So there's a very good chance they're going to end up with another, potential star player.
Yeah. Absolutely. With that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We do have, like I said, we'll be back on Thursday. We're back to live shows on Thursday after the Spurs game. And of course, Friday, the second game of the doubleheader as they head to Detroit for the final matchup with the Pistons. Looking at another team to the sweep list. Potential, if things go as planned, they could clinch home court advantage Friday night in Detroit in the East. So keep an eye on everything. We'll be back. The regular scheduled program. Of course, follow us on any of your socials. And then go ahead, Kev.
No, I was just going to say, because this is our last pod before March Madness resumes. Shout out like Jason Most, Owen Rumsey, Cruz Sanchez. These are all guys that are in the top 5 that we're going to be giving prizes for, with the grand prize being tickets to the Bulls Cavs game. If we haven't said it already, like, hit us up on any of the DMs if you end up in the top 5, so we can make sure we get you your prize and everything. But I just wanted to shout out, say good luck to all those guys. My bracket's not doing so well. St. John's really let me down. But yeah, no, thank you to everybody who participated, and good luck to everybody, especially those guys at the top that are kind of battling for that grand prize of tickets to the Bulls Cavs game on April 8th.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, you will see you guys on Thursday night. Follow us on all the apps, of course, of choice. Like Kevin said, DM us if you are in the top 5 there as well. And of course,
go Cavs.